The purpose of this course is to introduce the Business Analytics and Award Optimization platform to the GSM supplier community, ensuring that our suppliers understand what the platform offers and how to use it. The duration of this course is estimated to last no more than 2 hours. Before taking this course, you should already have access to the current Oracle X1 quoting system, or you should have a request in process to gain access to BAAO. Please note, you must take this training and complete the assessment before logging into BAAO. For additional information, including copies of this training material, visit the external Jive community site at the URL displayed on this slide. You'll also find this URL in the chat window of this WebEx session.
We'll take it 1 second.
After completing this course, you should be able to do the following: communicate the changes that will occur as we transition to BAAO, navigate efficiently and effectively in BAAO, understand what is expected of supplier involvement in the end-to-end negotiation process, understand supplier best practices, and be able to effectively use BAAO to conduct negotiations and interact with Cisco commodity managers. The agenda for this course is as follows. First, we'll introduce the Business Analytics and Award Optimization platform, otherwise known as BAAO. We will discuss the changes in transitioning from Oracle X1 to BAAO for our suppliers. Then we'll cover login and basic navigation. After that, we will explain how to use BAAO to engage in negotiations. And then finally, we'll conduct a live how-to video playing the role of a supplier interacting in the BAAO platform. Throughout this session, please post your questions in the WebEx chat window. We'll take a break at the end of each module to answer as many questions as possible. Please note that we'll also be uploading an FAQ to the external Jive site that will answer any questions submitted during our supplier training sessions. To post questions in the WebEx chat window, click the chat icon in the upper right corner, as you see in the slide. Select Send to Host, enter your question, and click Send. First, what's changing? In our first module, we will introduce the Business Analytics and Award Optimization platform, otherwise known as BAAO. To begin with, we'll describe how this is going to change and improve the way suppliers interact with Cisco during the negotiation and quoting cycle. Cisco is in the process of developing a new quotation and negotiations platform that will radically improve and simplify the interactions between Cisco's commodity managers and our suppliers. The Business Analytics and Award Optimization platform is being built to deliver cutting-edge technology that will enable Cisco and its suppliers to proactively manage and execute the negotiation cycle in a more simplified way. To keep updated on the current and future releases of BAAO, please visit the external Jive site. The current component quoting process is slow, serial, and static. Cisco commodity teams manually launch each quote. Back and forth discussions occur. Once pricing is agreed upon, the supplier responds to the quote, and finally the SUCM commodity manager awards the business. If there's a reason to renegotiate after an award, an entirely new quote needs to be manually launched and the process starts all over again. In the future, the negotiation and quoting process will be a fluid cycle. Quotes will be launched systematically when cost is required for a purchasable part. For example, on day one of the quarter, the supplier will see open negotiations for most of their parts, but bills of material are constantly changing. New parts are being added to existing Cisco products, and new Cisco products are being released into production. Suppliers will have the ability to respond as often as they like in a given quote cycle, responding to new parts or to changes affecting existing parts. Once pricing is agreed upon, Cisco commodity managers have the ability to lock and award the negotiation line item. Once an item is locked, suppliers will no longer be able to update the quoted price. However, if there's a need to renegotiate after an item has been locked and awarded, the commodity manager can simply unlock it and reopen it for further negotiation. The quote process will continue as a quarterly negotiations activity following the quarterly cycle, same as it is today. BAAO is a tool to help simplify and improve the quoting activities, reducing the steps involved to allow you to focus on negotiation. With this upcoming release on January 29th, BAAO will replace the current static manual quotation process and offline exchanges by enabling the following capabilities for our suppliers. Dynamic and collaborative negotiation cycles enabled by continuously updated dashboards. The ability for suppliers to manage their portfolios more effectively with access to historical data and key performance indicators. Reduction of data entry along with intelligent quote response, which identifies errors and suggests corrections to uploads. Various types of filters that can be used to effectively sort, isolate, and respond to your negotiations. The following usage recommendations will improve your BAAO user experience. First, when the system times out, you'll lose any unsaved data. You'll be presented with a clock on your browser that lets you know that before it clocks out, it'll give you a 5-minute clock countdown. Very importantly, BAAO is compatible with most web browsers. The recommended browsers are Firefox and Chrome. At this point in time, BAAO will not render properly in Internet Explorer or Safari for Windows. A release later on will enable compatibility with Internet Explorer. However, Firefox and Chrome will remain the recommended browsers and will function the best. Suggested operating systems include Windows and iOS. JavaScript must be enabled for your browser to render properly. BAAO will work with most screen resolutions on desktops and laptops. And finally, ensure that the zoom setting on your browser is set to 100% for the best experience of the application. In recap, the Business Analytics and Award Optimization Platform will enable Cisco and our suppliers to manage and execute the negotiation cycle in a more simplified way. BAAO allows access to key performance indicators in near real time, provides a more dynamic and collaborative negotiation experience enabled by continuously updated dashboards, and enables suppliers for a more simplified response through the intelligent quote response capability. At this point, we'll pause to answer any questions that have been submitted through WebEx chat.
The question submitted was in regards to access, which I believe you will be addressing coming up.
Okay. Now we'll move on to a general overview of BAAO access, login, and navigation. Suppliers that currently have access to Oracle X1 for sustained component quoting will be grandfathered into the BAAO system. The same user credentials that you have today that allow you access to Oracle X1 will allow you access to BAAO when we go live. Once the link is provided on the GSM Connections portal, simply navigate to the BAAO application and log in using your existing credentials. Supplier personnel that do not currently have access to Oracle X1 for sustaining component quoting can gain access to BAAO by following the new user onboarding instructions that are located on the external Jive site. Were we able to get that Jive site into the WebEx chat?
Yes, it is there.
Great. Logging in is a straightforward process. Simply enter your login credentials into the username field and password. Click enter and you'll be logged in. After logging in, you'll be routed to your negotiation details page. As briefly mentioned previously, the application will time out after a period of time, actually after 20 minutes, with inactivity, if you've done no activity at all in the browser. For that reason, make certain that you save any entries if you're going to be away from your screen for a while. If you are logged out, simply log back in using your credentials. This will be an overview of navigation of the negotiation details page. The home button in the upper right corner is where other pages can be accessed as they become available. A supplier landing page with alerts and notifications will be released in the next fiscal quarter. If you wish, you can use the spend analyzer to view negotiations by spend. Simply slide the slider left and right, and the amount of your spend and the resulting negotiations in your grid will be altered based upon the slider. These boxes within the application are referred to as tiles. Many of them can be expanded by clicking on the expansion icon. This tile is your negotiation grid where you'll upload and view your part details, where you'll do most of your interactions through the negotiation grid. Finally, this filter can help you sort out parts that require response versus parts that are awaiting Commodity Manager award. We'll be exploring this capability as we move on. The side panel filter on your negotiation boards will pop out when you click this icon. The pop-out pane allows you to filter based upon several different attributes: fiscal quarter, commodity manager, commodity group, cost change, commodity codes. Be aware that the filters that you apply on the side panel will determine the entire population of parts in your negotiation details grid. For example, if you select a specific commodity manager, only the parts that that commodity manager owns will be populated in the negotiation grid. BAAO provides you with various ways to view, organize, and respond to your negotiations. We'll be exploring each of these capabilities in more detail during the demonstration. To recap, filters on the pop-out side panel can be used to determine which parts are populated in the negotiation grid. Parts populated in the grid can be easily sorted to items that require response. A supplier landing page with alerts and notifications will be released during the next fiscal quarter. At this point, we'll pause to answer any questions that have been submitted through WebEx chat.
Yeah, so a question came through: if we no longer remember our username and password, or it stops working, how do we get access again?
If you no longer know your username and password, you'd need to follow the steps on the Jive site to request a new username, new user password.
Okay. And then the other question is, will you be able to pull drawings from this?
No, this is a negotiation platform around sustaining parts that should be defined by attributes in our product lifecycle management system where drawings are maintained.
We can move on.
Okay. Now we'll move into a general overview of the BAAO negotiation workflow. The basic steps have not drastically changed from the way they are performed today in Oracle. The negotiation cycle still follows the process of launching a negotiation, suppliers responding to the quote, commodity managers and suppliers negotiating on the applicable parts, and commodity managers awarding the business. However, the way this workflow occurs has been dramatically improved. First, the negotiation launch. Parts are continuously being added to Cisco bills of material. As soon as a new part is added to a BOM, new negotiations will be systematically launched. Systematic launch of negotiations provides our suppliers and our commodity managers with more time to negotiate. Quote response. The requested initial time for suppliers, the initial response from suppliers in BAAO is 7 days after negotiation launch. Now, BAAO will not prevent suppliers from responding outside of this window, but the intention is to receive the initial quote response more quickly, thereby allowing suppliers and commodity managers more time to productively negotiate. Again, unlike today, you can update quoted costs multiple times without waiting for a new quote to be issued as changes occur in your discussions or attributes of the part. Intelligent quote response will carry over attributes from prior quotes, including quote price to use as your starting point. In addition, you'll have a single user interface that will allow you to upload your quote responses directly in the dashboard by CSV download and upload, instead of responding to several different quote files as you have to today. When uploading a CSV response in BAAO, the system will accept the line items that are entered correctly and only reject items with errors. In addition, if there are any errors, it'll be easy for you to spot them and to correct them directly in the error file itself. Negotiation. After a negotiation is launched, the attributes of that part, including demand, will be continuously updated throughout the quote cycle. In addition, visual indicators at part level, as well as spend and savings dollars, will be dynamically updated. This provides meaningful, near real-time information to suppliers and our commodity managers. Awarding. Suppliers will have the ability to respond as often as they need to during a given quote cycle, responding to changes that are affecting your overall negotiations with Cisco. Once pricing is agreed upon, Cisco commodity managers have the ability to lock and award a part. And if there's a need to negotiate after an item has been locked and awarded, the commodity manager can simply reopen the item for further negotiation. Unlike the process today, this can be done without the delay associated with launching a new quote. Overall, BAAO creates a more dynamic, collaborative negotiation experience versus the slow, static, serial exchange of data that exists today. An overview of some of the required supplier responses. Note that suppliers must provide a quote response only for firm periods in BAAO, and will copy over the firm periods into the rest of the budgetary periods, both the cost and the attributes from your last firm period. This is applicable to all types of quotes, including quarterly firm, semi-annually firm, 3/4, and annual firm quotes. For the quote attribute, of cycle time to replenish, note that if the site is global, you have the option of either quoting as one global lead time, which is the more common case, or if you have different lead times for different sites in a global quote, you'll then be able to fill out all of the regional locations. So for a regional quote, it'll just simply be filling out all the regional sites. So in summary, for a global quote, CT2R is filled out just once at the global level, or if you have different lead times for different locations, all of the regional sites are filled out. For a regional quote, you'll just fill out the various regional sites. In responding to the quote, values are requested for all applicable fields. Some are validated and others are non-validated per the table on this slide. The validated fields are marked as response required in the CSV upload file template, and they'll have an asterisk next to the values. Validated fields such as quote price are systematically checked for entry and format. For example, the numerical value must be provided in the quote price field. Non-validated fields such as Incoterms are not checked for value or format. However, we do provide a list of requested values in BAAO. In summary, we request values for all applicable fields, but the quote will only be rejected if a validated field lacks the values or has been mistakenly filled out. Quickly identifying parts to quote. A quick way to identify the pending quotes that require your attention involves the following 3 steps. First, check to see if there are any pending negotiations in the current quarter. The current quarter is the most urgent quarter because we're already in process and we have the need to purchase and to roll up costs for our systems. Click the numerical hyperlink if you have any items in the current period, and those parts will be populated in your grid. Second, select the firm periods for future quarters that apply to your negotiations. The default is quarterly, but some suppliers may have a mix of negotiations requiring 1 quarter firm, 2 quarters firm, and 3 quarters. Your selection will populate the grid. In fact, let me go back just to emphasize that point. In this present example, the firm award period is quarter. For any items that are 1 quarter firm, 3 quarter budgetary, your items will be populated in the grid. If you have any quotes that are 2 quarters firm, 2 quarter budgetary, they will not be shown here. You'll need to toggle from quarter to semi-annual. Similarly for 3 quarter or for annual if you have a mix of different types of firm periods. To identify within the firm award periods which items require your attention, simply click the in-flight filter and checkbox the pending filter. This will isolate the items in your negotiation grid for all the parts that you've not yet responded to. After quickly identifying parts to quote, the next step is to upload your response. CSV download upload is the most convenient method for quote responses. However, you can also complete a single quote by first filling out the attributes through what we call the hamburger icon, saving those attributes, and then entering submitted quote prices in the grid for a specific part. That said, the best practice is to rely upon CSV upload. The hamburger icon is primarily a reference if you forget which values to populate in your quote, and it's also a convenient method of changing one or two attributes for a single part after you've done CSV upload. We'll show you what we mean by that in the next slide and during the video demo. Also, please note that if you need to change price after CSV upload, you can do so very easily from the screen or by CSV download upload. When price is changed on the screen, simply select the price, or enter your price, select the checkbox next to the line item, and click the Submit button at the bottom of the screen. Finally, as you can see in this slide, after you upload a CSV file, you'll receive a dialog box indicating your accepted items and rejected items. If you have any rejected items, click the hyperlink and you'll receive a CSV error file. It'll show you which items have been rejected and why they were rejected. You can fix those issues and simply re-upload using the error file. There's no need to retrieve an additional file. This illustrates the hamburger icon I mentioned in the previous slide. After clicking on any hamburger icon next to any part, you'll receive the attributes pop-up. This pop-up is a useful reference if you forget what values to input into your quote. Hover over the fields to see the requested values. For example, in this slide, I'm hovering over the freight paid from Supplier. We would like to get the values of Supplier, EMS partner, or Cisco. However, this is not a validated field, so if you, for instance, input EMS site instead of EMS partner, we would still accept your quote, but these are the fields that the values we'd like to get from you. As you can see from the example CSV, the non-cost attributes in the pop-up match to the same fields that are in the CSV file. In recap, quote responses are required for firm periods only in BAAO. We'll copy over the last firm period and apply that to your budgetary periods. Values are requested for both the validated and non-validated quote fields. Mismatches to validated fields will be identified in the CSV error file. Parts requiring response can quickly be identified by clicking the pending checkbox within the in-flight grid filter. CSV download upload is the most convenient method of quote response. And finally, the hamburger attribute icon is a good reference if you forget which values to populate in your quote. It's also a convenient method for changing one or two attributes for a single part. So for instance, let's say you've uploaded all of your quotes and you simply need to change MOQ or C22R for a given part. You could easily click the hamburger icon, change that one field, save it, and that would be faster than a download and upload for an entirely new CSV line item. At this point, we'll pause to answer any questions that have been submitted through WebEx chat.
Will Cisco provide our MPNs for each item on the quote?
So for every quote that we launch, we'll include all of the MPNs that are purchasable against that CPN.
If a commodity manager assigns a share and locks the quote, will I get advised if the commodity manager reopens the quote so he can assign more share to another supplier? And will I have a view of the closed quotes and share assignment?
Yes. So once an item is awarded, you'll be able to find the items by sorting on lots. And when you sort unlocked, you will find all the items that are locked and their awards. If for some reason the commodity manager unlocked the part, you would see that the number of your pending responses would be increased, and you would also be able to find that by sorting on pending. When we come out with the home page and alerts and notifications, you'll be given additional alerts and notifications when these kinds of changes occur.
One more question here. So people are looking on the Jive site for the link to access the tool. Now we don't go live until this weekend, right, January 29th. Where is the link for them to find the quote?
So when we go live, we'll post that link to the Jive site, and there should also be an email communication that will go out to our suppliers. I encourage you to go to the Jive site. We try to keep our database up to date with all the right email addresses, but in case we've missed somebody, it would be good if you went to the Jive site.
Okay, and then the last question here. Will there be a mass download capability for all award shares based on the commodity?
So based upon the filters that you applied in the side panel, that will determine the population of parts in your grid. Excuse me. So if you wanted to do a mass download based upon those filters, you could do so after you set them, and anything that you've created in your grid, you can download and upload.
Okay, and last question that just came in. Will we still receive an email notifying us that a quote has been sent?
When we go live, alerts and notifications will not be part of this release. So when we go live on the 29th, you will not be receiving email alerts. However, that capability is being built out for a future release.
Thanks, Jeff. We can continue on.
Now that we've discussed the basics of navigation and responding to negotiations, we'll move on to describing some of the additional features of the negotiation details page. Aggregate negotiation information for the quoting cycle is displayed. Baseline versus awarded spend and savings are displayed in graphical format. To isolate spend or savings, click on the legend area. Baseline spend estimates are used using your last awarded cost and updated demand. As you begin to negotiate, that baseline will be blanked out, and it will be replaced with your awarded spend and savings after the commodity manager makes their award. MPN line item negotiations with no response versus the ones you've responded versus the ones that have been awarded are shown graphically in a pie chart at the top of the graph. Finally, the spend slider can either be hidden to provide more space in your browser, or if you're going to use it, simply click the minus plus sign next to it. There are several ways to search in addition to filtering on the negotiation grid. At the top of the grid, you'll find column search boxes for CPN, part description, sites, part division, MPN, qual status. Type all or part of the value and click enter to search. That will isolate the parts in your grid based upon what you put into the boxes. Next to the CSV upload download, you'll also find two other ways to search. Global search searches the entire population of parts in the grid using a keyword. For instance, it might be part of a part description. Anything that has that particular part of the description would be showing up in your grid. CPN upload is also another convenient way to search for parts. CPN upload provides the ability to upload a specific list of CPNs, and that particular list and only that list of parts will be shown in the grid. Clicking on the MPN hyperlink allows you to view CPN demand, MPN price, savings, awarded split for 4 quarters in the past and 4 quarters in the future. Future includes both firm and budgetary period. This is a particularly helpful way to take a look at your history, where you've been in relationship to your current situation. You can hover over points in the pop-up graph to view the specific values for each given quarter. We also provide the MPN and CPN numbers along with the revision and description in this pop-up. Award eligibility is indicated by the color bands in the grid. Red indicates pending negotiations that you have not yet provided a response to, while green indicates they're awaiting award by the commodity manager. Awarded and locked negotiations show the lock symbol. Canceled items show the circle with the slash mark. It's not a symbol that you'll see that often, but if for some reason we do need to cancel a negotiation, rather than just removing something from your grid that you may have been working on already, you'll see that the cancel symbol will be displayed and it will no longer be an item that you can respond to. In addition, visual indicators show the movement of prices throughout the negotiation. Gray background with an arrow pointing to the right indicates a price that is a placeholder from your previous quote for this period. The indicator shifts to green, arrow down, when your uploaded response represents a cost decrease from the prior cost. Shift to red, arrow up, when the uploaded cost represents a cost increase. When there's no increase or decrease, an underline is shown under the item, and the item is shown in dark black. In recap, the supplier negotiations detail page allows you to apply filters, isolate in-flight negotiations requiring your action, and track award progress throughout the quoting cycle. Baseline spend estimates are used using your last awarded cost and updated demand. This is replaced by awarded spend and savings as commodity managers makes their awards. The functionality of the grid includes filtering based upon award status, a view of lock and unlock status of negotiations, and hyperlinked MPNs where you can click to see display historical data graphically. At this point, we'll pause to answer any questions that have been submitted to WebEx chat.
Yes, we have some more questions coming in. How will we know when to quote?
When we go live, the announcement will go out and let you know that the platform is live. As mentioned previously, this platform will be updated dynamically. So we encourage you to check it several times throughout the negotiation cycle. We will have alerts and notifications on the next release of BAAO, but you should consult and look at your negotiation dashboard multiple times because we're constantly adding new parts to new bombs.
Will the Cisco location and or EMS partner name and location be shared in BAAO?
The location of the EMS site will not be shown, but what will be shown is whether you're a global quote or a regional quote. If you're a global quote, it'll show GLO under site. If you're a regional quote, it'll give you the region site designation. So for instance, if you're doing a regional quote and your site is Foxconn China, you would see FOC as that site.
Okay. If you already downloaded a file and you cancel an item, will this show up as an error when we upload?
Yeah, if I understand the question correctly, if you're uploading a file and one of the items you're including in the upload and download is an item that has been canceled, yes, you get an error, but the thing to point out is that even if you do get the error, all of the other items would be accepted. So one of the big changes in BAAO versus Oracle is we will accept anything that doesn't have a problem, and only the rejected item would be rejected. In that case, it would be something you would expect would be rejected.
Okay. And then another question here. If we change MPNs within a CPN, will the cost savings be captured?
The cost savings for a particular, so Cisco calculates savings based upon CPN. So if I understand the question correctly, if you have a different MPN to the same CPN, will you get credit for those savings? And the answer would be yes, because it's going to roll up to the overall cost savings for the CPN.
If I have over 800 part numbers currently in the ABL, will the last quarter information be brought in automatically and displayed?
Yes. The first time that you log into BAAO, you'll be required to give us all of your quote information. But once we have your quote information, we will carry over for you those values to use as a starting point in future negotiations.
I already have a negotiation for Q3 and Q4. Do I need to redo these RFQs?
No, you don't. So for those suppliers who've engaged with this previously in Oracle X1 on a semi-annual or an annual basis, we are replicating the information for you.
There's a few more coming in, but we'll catch them next time.
At this point, I'm going to play a video demonstration and narrate the various features we've been talking about so you can see how it looks in the platform in real time. So your supplier name will be underneath the negotiation details title. We put in some manufactured information here so we don't expose anything. You'll notice that you have a slider bar at the bottom. You can slide left and right to see all of the quarters. Again, the first thing you want to do is to select your firm award period. It's important to note again that if you have parts that are semi-annually quoted, you won't see them until you click the firm semi-annual period. So right now what you're looking at is the population for all parts that are being quoted as 1 firm period, 3 quarters budgetary. Select the other periods to make sure that you don't have quotes that are 2 quarter firm, 2 quarter budgetary, and so on. In this case, I'll check, and it looks like I do have some semi-annually quoted parts, and you'll see that the population in the grid changes accordingly. Again, you can scroll left and right. You'll see firm, firm at the top of the 2 periods, since this is a 2 firm period quote. Again, in BAAO, we will take your firm period, your last firm period, and copy it over to the budgetary periods. I'll check annual, and there are no annual quotes. As mentioned previously, the easiest way to understand what parts to respond is to click the firm award period, click pending, and now you could mass download and mass upload if you chose to respond to all the pending items that you currently have in your negotiation grid. Again, it's something you'll check multiple times during the negotiation cycle because we're constantly adding new parts as we get demand. This is the CSV upload and download functionality. When you download, you'll receive the file either in the left-hand corner or the right-hand top, depending upon your browser, Chrome or Firefox. In this case, I've got more items that I'm going to demonstrate. Just for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm just going to delete the ones that I'm not going to respond to. You'll note the asterisk are next to the items that are the validated fields. So for instance, quote price is a validated field. So we'll be looking for a positive numerical value there. If you mistakenly typed a letter value, we would reject it, for instance. CT2R for a global quote can be responded to either with one number in the global value or a number in all of the site locations. So it's either one global number or a value for all of the various region locations. The most common scenario for global quotes is a response with one value in the CT2R global column. But you have the flexibility, if required, to respond the other way. Minimum order quantity is a required field, so we're looking for a numerical value there. MPQ is requested as well. Country of origin, NAFTA, Incoterms. Freight paid by. If for some reason I forgot what I should put into a field, I can click that hamburger icon. For instance, I could take a look at the various backgrounds. Supplier contact says that I would like to get name, comment, email, and phone. That's what we'd like to get from you. If you put in just your name, we wouldn't reject it since it's not a validated field, but that's what we'd like to get. Too many countries of origin to list in a pop-up, so what we've done there is if you forgot what your country code is or you need to know what country code to list, you can click on that and you'll receive a download of all the applicable ICC country codes. For Incoterms, those are the Incoterms that are applicable. We give that to you in a pop-up. Similarly with rate paid, this is what we'd like to get one of these three values. So moving on to the quote, under a quote price, enter the information that's being requested in the various fields. We would like to get MPQ as much as possible. MPQ will be the minimum package quantity. So let's say you have 100 in a particular box, and they're 10 per tray. 10 would be the MPQ. That looks pretty good. I think I'll save that and upload it. Make sure that you keep your file as a CSV file. Don't save it as Excel. If you save it as Excel, it will not upload for you. And just click upload. In your screen, you won't get this pop-up box. This is an internal functionality. You'll simply upload your file. You won't have to click quote response. You'll just select your file and upload. So after you select your file and upload, you'll get a dialog box, let you know if it's okay. Click OK. And your information will be refreshed. Now remember, I've gone from pending to award eligible because I've just responded. So if I want to see the items that I've just responded to, if you have a filter for pending, deselect pending and then select